Level. And of course, it wouldn't be CarPIF if we don't have these stories from people working in the trenches. In today's example, we're going to have two of those stories. So we're going to have presentations from the CTU. That one will be done by Mr. Junior McIntyre, and also from SUR, S-U-R-I-X, which is the upcoming IXP from Suriname. And that presentation will be undertaken by Jai Udit. So Junior from the CTU is going to introduce to us the CarPIF IX project. And of course, the CTU has been a long-standing member along with CarPIF in doing a lot of research and other work to promote IXPs in the region. So without further ado, over to you, Junior, with CarPIF IX.
As Kevin indicated, I'll be speaking specifically to the CarPIF project, but essentially just to say that the CarPIF project is one initiative that falls under the larger CTU umbrella of Caribbean IXP proliferation and enhancement across the region, which is really an ongoing collaborative effort between the CTU, CarPIF, and all stakeholders in the region. Just to briefly give you a history of the CTU, quickly, it was established in 1989 by CARICOM to support telecom issues and development across the region, and was inaugurated in 1990. And 2003, there was a significant shift in strategic direction, focused more on innovation and collaboration. And then in 2004, the mandate was actually widened to deal with the whole membership base to focus on wider Caribbean ICT initiatives, and we included private sector, civil society, and the likes. So specifically to the Caribbean IXP proliferation project, again, the focus is on developing IXPs across the region, and it's holistic in mind. Issues focusing on harmony and harmonization, working together with all the stakeholders, efficiency, entrepreneurship, all those things are critical. And this slide just gives you a sense of the ecosystem that is envisioned. And a lot of the presenters before spoke about that. IXPs connecting everything that exists, from IoTs to access points, to banks, to research institutions, to governments, to hospitals, to schools across. So that is our vision, because CTU's very much involved in the entire ecosystem and working with all the stakeholders. So we see ourselves as strategic in that role, connecting with all the other stakeholders across the board and bringing that to bear on the notion of IXPs. So specifically to the CarPIF project, just to give you an overview of it, the stakeholders involved would be, well, firstly, the Interreg is the regulatory authority that is sponsoring the project. The project focuses on the Francophone territories, the French-speaking territories. CTU has been given the mandate to coordinate the project, and we work, of course, closely with CarPIF to implement and to support the implementation across the Francophone territories. Just to say that an important part of the project is forming a bridge between essentially the English-speaking territories, IXPs that are supported in the English-speaking territories, along with the French. And of course, it's not just a bridge that is underpinned by technology and critical infrastructure, but it also goes beyond. The hope is to move beyond that to the challenges of the language barrier, and essentially harmonize, across, content delivery services, entrepreneurship, and many benefits that would be derived from the establishment of these IXPs. But just to give you a quick view of the project, the slide here is pretty self-explanatory. We have CTU coordinating the project, working closely with CarPIF to implement the IXPs in the various regions. And we'll be providing that management oversight, technical advice, and set up and ongoing operations. We have Dolphin Telecom. They would lead the implementation in St. Martin as well. and as well as we have Telem, they will be in charge of the implementation bridge between Suligag IX and ICU IX, as well as the collectivity of St. Barthélemy, and that those cluster of islands will focus on the whole issue of creation of IXP in St. Barthélemy, the GIX and BATX as well. And we have Guadeloupe Tech Association. They will focus on the implementation of IXP clusters in Guadeloupe and GuadIX as well. So there is each element or each component or each partner in the whole ecosystem has a specific focus, and it's very much collaborative. From the slide you will see is the operators working together with the regulators, working together with regional organizations to implement. And quickly, the focus in the three main areas or territories that we'll be focusing on, the key priority areas in St. Barthélemy, is to create an internet exchange point on the island, which is intended to improve the reliability and service experience of the operators and users on the telecoms network. In Guadeloupe, their focus is and the Association of Guadeloupe Tech is to create a simple and inexpensive tool to identify and route the internet traffic of the local territories, as well as San Martin and St. Martin, is to create a digital bridge connectivity to the existing St. Martin IXP, as well as establishing what we call a geographic unit, which will facilitate ease of inter-island traffic. So again, that's just the notion of the project. That's a quick overview of the project. I guess I wanted to leave some time for questions, and I wouldn't get into any more details, but I will just end my presentation at this point.
Great, thank you very much for that overview, Junior, of CarPIF. And I think it's it's more than time to see that sort of reaching out and connection with the French Caribbean in this instance, the territories of St. Bart's, St. Martin, and Guadeloupe. Speaking of French Caribbean, of course, it should be noted that Haiti was one of these initiatives that came out from the onset, from as far back as, I believe, somewhere between 2007 and 2011, with one of the first IX operations, a lot of challenges along the way, and again, revived activities on their end. But nonetheless, we know that caring about Haiti's experience will be something that we will be very much attuned to in the upcoming future. So we're going to move on now to another initiative, this time coming from our neighbors to the south, Suriname, who are in the process of launching and operationalizing within a very short time their IX. So in representation of the interim board of that IX, Sur IX, I'd like to call on Jai Udit, who will give an overview of Sur IX.
Okay, so first let me thank CarPIF and you, Kevin, for giving us this opportunity to share the progress we made so far and also the next step that will be coming. So Suriname Internet Exchange is, as you mentioned, one of the exchange that probably later this year will be online. And I would like to share with you how it started. So this is like a small timeline. In 2018, we have all stakeholders participated, and in that meeting, we decide on the model that we will apply, and that is a non-for-profit. And also we are to host the IXP, and we decide to host it at the commercial data center here in Suriname, and that is at DataSure. The next milestone was in 2019 when we signed an agreement with all the stakeholders as founding members for the IXP, Zurich, and also at that meeting, a board was elected. And as you mentioned, I am also on the board along with Jürgen Smells and Moira Roswevel. In 2020, the statute of the foundation was approved by the government. There's a formal process here in Suriname, and we also registered it at the Chamber of Commerce, and its official name is Suriname Internet Exchange, which is abbreviated as SURX. And in 2021, that is this year, thus, we are in the process of purchasing hardware, and we are very thankful to ISOC, who is providing us with financial support. So it's important, as we see in the previous presentation, who are the founding members. So we have in Suriname all the operators, including one of the major ones, that is Telesur. We also have Digital Suriname, Parbonet, which is ISP, and the data center, Datasur. And the stakeholders, as I mentioned before, that is, they are not operator board, they support the idea of the IX, and that include one of the major warehouse here, retail store here in Suriname, which is Kirpalani. They have also a license for a VMNO, which is Kirpalani.com. The authority, which I am part of, the Telecom Authority, the University of Suriname, the Anton de Kom University, the Central Bank of Suriname, the E-Government Commission, the Directorate of National Security, and also the ICT Association. So as you can see, we have a multi-stakeholder approach in this process. The next step, which we cater to be completed by September this year, is that we will have the racking and stacking of the hardware and also the configuration of it, and also require the resources that is necessary from LACNIC. And once that is done, we can then establish local peering with all the ISPs. And as mentioned before, we will have the Zurich register at Peering DB. And with that, I come to my conclusion. Indeed, Zurich, we are small, but we are also working on securing the Caribbean connectivity. And with that, I would like to thank you. And if there's any questions, looking forward for that.
Thank you a lot, Jai. Thank you for that very comprehensive overview of what you have done in Suriname within a very short space, relatively from 2018 until now. SURIX or Zurich is at the point of becoming operational. And of course, with every CarPIF event, there's actually the networking, this time being done through a virtual platform to make other contacts, possibly look at increasing visibility among the other databases. Before Jai, of course, as a reminder, we had Junior's presentation. Junior, representing the CTU, long-standing supporter of the IX proliferation project in the region alongside CARDNOG. So two different perspectives, but of course complementary. And here at CarPIF, it's the ideal space to come up and to think of some of the challenges or the idiosyncrasies unique to the region, to somewhat aerate them among all of the participants here. So I'm speaking right now. I'm not sure if there are any questions so far. So I'll probably just throw a question there. This question goes to Jai. Jai, could you just give us a quick comment on what are some of the strategies or the thoughts for more local content being developed and of course exchange within Suriname?
Yeah, so because we are working now on the IX, what we see is that especially the content is located right now at the ISPs. So at Telesur is one of the, as I mentioned, major player here in Suriname. So they have like the most content right now, along with Digital Suriname. And I think once we are set up and be connected, it will be, we can negotiate with them to see how we can also have like a copy of those content as the at the IX at Zurich. But at the meantime, we are also looking at content operator to provide of or have them hosted at the IX, and because it will look like a proposition, like to have that locally here. But it's right now a challenge because most of the content is right now hosted at the ISPs.
Great. Thank you a lot, Jai. And thank you also addressed the question that came up from Brent McIntosh about whether you were in discussion with any global CDNs at this point. I think you mentioned that is part of the strategy. I'm not sure if you have any specific details you'd like to share this time, but I know it's on your agenda. Is there anything specific, again, you add to that, Jai?
No, because unfortunately not at this time, because we didn't take any action up to now regarding that.
Great. All right, and now we have a question for Junior from an anonymous attendee. Great to hear about the CTU project. When is the French Caribbean IX project expected to start, and how long is it expected to take? So there's a question here from Junior. I'll give the floor to Junior, and then we have one other question from Claire Craig before wrapping up this section.
And thank you for that question. I actually didn't mention the start. The project actually was approved this month. So it is really a timely question, and there's a hard end date, December 2022. So essentially, we have to hit the ground running. So to answer the question.
All right, thanks very much, Junior. I'm gonna move right over to Claire. So Claire, you have the floor.
Thanks, Kevin. I really liked your presentation, Jai. Just a quick question about the Suriname implementation of the Suriname IXP. Two questions. Do you all have a dedicated peering coordinator for this project? And I noticed you said that you are operating out of a data center. So are there going to be charges to the participants or the members? How are the fees and the operations costed for this project?
Thank you, Claire. Let me start with the last question. As I mentioned, we are a non-for-profit organization, so all the costs induced will be shared among the participating members. So everyone that will be peering at the IX will have to contribute to the cost. And at the data center, indeed, we will induce cost, hosting fee, and that will be shared among the peering members. And you had a first question, which I missed. Can you please?
Do you have a dedicated peering coordinator?
Yeah. So at this time, we don't have a dedicated peering coordinator. we are very thankful for having Brent McIntosh with us. He is providing us with technical support till now. I don't know, maybe if one can be dedicated for us, that would be very nice to have. But I welcome that, Claire. Please contact me.
It's very interesting that you were able to get so many people to come together so early in the game without a dedicated peering coordinator. So thanks for sharing that.
What I want to mention, Claire, is, and we spoke about this before, trust is one of the important thing here. And since we start with this journey from beginning, at least I was the one that was looking at it, that we must build trust, and we communicate everything with all the stakeholders. So there's a transparency in every decision we make, and that helps build the trust. So that is the very important thing to have. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Claire. Thank you, Jai, for those responses. And reiterating Jai's last point, the trust element, the human networking aspect of what we're doing is very critical for everything that we have to achieve when we think of IXP growth. I think a lot of people across the region can identify with what Jai was stating about how they operate right now. It's a lot of volunteer work from other entities to get the work done without dedicated resources and, of course, share costs along the way. We have come to this juncture where that is the member updates are being closed right now, and we would like to move into an open mic session where we want everyone as much as possible to intervene and to share their thoughts and the like. But to lead us into that open mic session, I would like to call on right now both Bevel and Shernan to guide us through that bit.
Thank you, Kevin, and thanks to the members for those two updates. Really good to see things moving forward in Suriname. Nice seeing you again, Jai. And also, Junior, congrats on the work that the CTO has been doing with the French-speaking territories. Also excellent to see that project finally getting on the way. I'd like, Junior, if you can come back on screen as well, so we can take together, you can take this, the questions in this open mic session and share any views. This has been an exceptional CarPIF session today. For those who would have been with us from Barbados to now, I'm sure you can see the trajectory is going in the right direction, and we're having the kinds of conversations that make a tangible impact on the development of internet infrastructure in the Caribbean. And so I wanted to get this opportunity here as we bring today's session to a close to have the CarPIF community just generally share any comments, any questions that you might have, not just on today's session, but what's happening in your neck of the woods. And of course, to those partners who are on screen also to share your comments and views on how things are looking and how we can continue to take CarPIF forward. So this is our open mic session. This is CarPIF 7. Would not have been possible without our partners, would not have been possible without our sponsors. So we want to give them a thank you note as well too. If you have questions, please feel free to put it into the question and answers segment, or raise your hand and we can promote you on screen so that the community can see and hear you. That will be a good touch as we negotiate this virtual format. So at this point, Shannon, Kevin, Albert, Junior, Stephen, any comments or remarks as we wait to hear from our community? Keep your eyes on the chat as well too.
Yes.
Albert.
Thanks, Bevel. I'll just say quickly that it was interesting to hear from others a similarity of message to what we've been saying in ICANN in terms of the importance of a multi-stakeholder approach to looking at issues where all stakeholder views feature and input the deliberation. I think we heard that from several speakers today. And so there is congruence, and it's good to see that we are all marching to the same drummer or to the same band. Thanks.
Excellent. Shannon, sorry, cut you off.
Yeah, it's fine. I think when we start discussing this whole CarPIF thing, one of the challenges that we have been facing back then was we have been talking to ourselves or among ourselves too much. So of course, we love the Caribbean. Now for a way how to focus on the wider world as well, and not only us talking to ourselves. And I think what we have seen with CarPIF development is that nowadays we are looking also what is happening in other regions, and not only for the sake of looking what is happening in other regions. We would like to learn from them, then to share experience with them in order for us to enhance what we have been doing. So I think this is one of the great developments that I personally have experienced by following all these CarPIFs. One of the other topics also that we have been discussing back then, focus a bit more moving forward, is how can we focus a bit more on the internet economy development. Because back then when we were talking about, we lost our sugar and bananas industries, we had to look for new ways to continue to develop the economy in our countries. And the internet is one of the key pillars that we still have, technology / internet. So we need to make use of that and see how we can. The next step would be, let's say that we can do some research and see, okay, during all these years, we were here and now we're heading in a given direction where we are contributing as well to the development of our local economy. So I think that's one of the areas that we should focus a bit more going forward. Thank you.
Yeah, good point. Kevin?
Hi. Thanks, Bev. I just wanted to piggyback on what Shirno was saying. We indeed have been speaking among each other for quite a while. And I think it's very important as well that we look to comparable or similar experiences around the region to help us with the trajectories that we are setting for ourselves. So I wanted to mention, I know Gabriel would have mentioned it in passing, there is an agreement between LACNIC, LACIX, and the Internet Society to quite rightfully so address and give support to upcoming initiatives, especially by way of sharing some of the lessons learned from other parts of the Latin American region that we may not have heard of before. I would say just off the bat, within the Caribbean, there are a lot of what you would say comparable contexts with some of the developments that happen within Central America, Panama and the like, which also have a lot of very strong links to the Caribbean in terms of culture and other considerations. So one of the things that I have observed throughout the years with CarPIF is that we started with a lot of bright ideas. One of my particular interests at the start was the trade imperatives, the whole question of CDNs, and that attractiveness for CDNs coming into the region. And I think for the most part, that those earlier questions and those earlier debates have really influenced what we see now, where that's no longer even a major consideration for having that level of attraction or of investment into the region and actually developing value at the IXPs themselves. So I'm just saying that I'm very grateful to see this evolution of the CarPIF discussions. Looking forward to what we can do intersessionally or in other terms outside of just the dedicated events. And I know with things in mind such as CARIBIX being led by the CTU and CARINOG and others, that we will definitely continue to see and benefit from this momentum from these face-to-face events that we have with the experts and the practitioners all together on screen.
Correct. Excellent. One of the, well, and all of these points I think connect very well with the thread that has run through today's discussion, and that is the overlap between the critical internet infrastructure and the reality, the pandemic catalyzed reality that there are now more local digital content and services options available for consumers across the region. Governments have had to move online, businesses have had to move online, students have had to move online, and people have generally had to become more comfortable with the internet. All of this has put a spotlight back on what kind of back end behind the scenes infrastructure is required and how must it be secured to ensure and to secure the Caribbean digital economy. I think the session today and the place that CarPIF is at as a community, not as an event, but as a community of overlapping interests and overlapping objectives, that place that we're now at is one where we have to look very carefully at our next steps. Abdul Hakim made an interesting point in the chat, and if he's able to come online, I'd like him to share it here. Otherwise, I'll read it. There he is. Could you make that point, please, again about what IXP stakeholders ought to be?
Yes, basically, I was. I just wanted to urge, the decision makers, but also the IXP stakeholders across the Caribbean, that you must always factor the underserved, unserved, and indeed the unborn in your policy, strategy, cyber development, security, implementation activities. And this is because they're not at the table, they're not here to speak, but yet they have to live with the outcomes, the precedents, the decisions that we make. And so I would urge you to please factor them in whatever it is you are doing, because it is about the next generation. It's about our children. It's about those coming after us. It's actually about a better society. So thank you very much.
Excellent point. And one that has been at the start of CarPIF to now, this concern for those who don't have a current voice in the discussion around the development of the internet, and also a concern for those who are unaware of the importance of their voice in shaping how things move forward. I want to give last remarks to Junior and then of CTU and then Stephen of CaribNog before we close today's meetings. Just quick remarks, guys, as you share the perspectives, not just from your organization standpoint, but from your role as Caribbean citizens in terms of where things go forward from here. Junior?
Yes, thank you, Bevel. I mean, I don't want to belabor the point, but to me, it's the key essence of what happened today. The whole notion of collaboration. I mean, we have been working together for years across the region. The CTU, LATNIC, ARIN, CaribNog, CarPIF, and we have been collaborating, working together, sharing ideas, bringing all our stakeholders, various stakeholders on board, and it's really heartwarming to see now the fruit of it. I mean, we have been seeing fruit for a while, but it's as though the fruit is being amplified in this time. We're seeing the two projects, I think the Suriname project and the Francophone project, brings that to the fore, where our stakeholders are now themselves partnering with each other. All right, so you have operators working together, you have associations and organizations working together collaboratively to build that internet infrastructure and collaborate across the region, both in the French and English speaking, as well as in Suriname across the region. So we're sharing practices and knowledge and expertise. And we're really happy to see that, and we hope it continues.
All right, and just in closing perspectives, just building on what everyone has said so far, I think the collaboration is clear, and looking forward into the future, I think as we kind of discover in the region what it takes to move forward in a reshaped world. We're seeing the collaboration and integration across our organizations and across our communities as being like a very strategic aspect of that. And inside of this meeting, you know, I got to see something like a community of communities talking together and recognizing the common points of concern and common solutions for what we want to do. And so I'm really pleased to see that, certainly from both as CaribNog, the organization, and as a Caribbean citizen myself, pleased to see that, because I think that we'll be able to have a good movement into our future if we stand on top of this platform. So thanks everyone. I'm gonna turn over back to Bevel now, but just saying from CaribNog, thanks everyone for coming together today.
Thank you, Stephen. And I know when Stephen says from CaribNog, you know, there's this CaribNog saying we are all part of the Caribbean Network Operators Group. So he's given that sentiment on our corporate behalf. And for me, this really has been a session that is beyond the 3 hours or 3.5 hours that we've devoted to it. This is a session that builds on the last 7 years of working to advance the internet in the Caribbean. And I trust for everyone who has participated today that you would understand the importance of that collaboration dimension to what we have done, but also to what we still have to do. And in the chat, you'd see a link to a survey form where we're asking you, please share your feedback on today's session, but also your comments on where things can go forward. We have several collaborative activities in plan. The internet organizations within the region have been in close conversation about how to make sure that our agendas overlap, that our energies and efforts are as synchronized as possible to serve the community. And this is something to look forward to. The upcoming CaribNog meetings, the upcoming Caribbean Internet Governance Forum sessions are all part of a continuation of our effort in this season to ensure that across the board and for all stakeholders, we're working together for the good, not just of the internet in the Caribbean, but for the good of the Caribbean. And so I want to thank you all for coming out. Continue to be diligent and continue to be safe. Let us let us ensure that not just our networks and our internet infrastructure is secure, but that we take care of ourselves inside of this pandemic. Thank you all again. Our hearts and prayers continue to go out to the people, our brothers and sisters in Haiti, and to across the region to ensure that we are all moving forward and we are all working together to build a better region.